Hello, and welcome to today's Academy Voices Live.
Mm-hmm.
We have Angela and
Hello.
Anthony. What is it, Angela? Angela and Anthony, double A. Oh no, wait,
Double the A team. Get
yeah,
it
that's better. The A
right.
team, the A team. We've got the A team going on today. Gabby couldn't join us unfortunately because her internet is out and it was cut or something crazy. So they're working on trying to get her internet back. So hopefully she'll be back till tomorrow. So,
That's crazy.
but yeah, we're here today. We're going to be talking about Academy Voices.
Mm-hmm.
Angela, what are we talking about today, Angela?
Well, we're going to be talking about reviewing the ACX standards or
Yeah.
audiobook formatting standards tonight in Launchpad, so we can touch on that a little bit today if you want to.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Absolutely. So, I did want to start off by saying there was a great question in our Discord and our servers and the VO Journey Discord, and the question was because we have, of course, if you're part of VO Journey Academy, we also have courses, right, that you can get as well that takes you through things, and I think someone had commented on what's the difference between ACX standards and then like a commercial demo standard or like other industry voiceovers.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? You know what I mean? And they were confused about, is there a difference? Why is that so strict and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that? So I thought that's actually a really good question to lead us off.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about Angela? Like what do you see? So if someone would come to you and they're like, I need you to do um a 30-second commercial spot, you know what I mean? Not a voiceover, not a audiobook. What do you do just briefly, like in a 20,000-foot view, differently with your audio? Anything? Do you still use the same settings?
Well, first and foremost, and I have seen this question and get this question a lot, this question we're reviewing today, but first and foremost, it's going to depend heavily on what the client wants. The tech specs, as we always say, make sure that you're checking the tech specs. If there's a brief instructions, make sure you're following those because there's a purpose to that. They want to make sure that you're following or you can follow instructions. So if the client asks for something specific, like raw audio, don't do anything to it, minimal cutting, I need it at a specific sample rate, bit depth, whatever it is, make sure that you're adhering to that. But if there are no instructions given, then I do a little bit of light processing. Pretty much the same processing I do for audiobooks. Normalize it to -3 or matched loudness, as we're talking about a lot in Launchpad. And that's it. But it doesn't need to really adhere, or it shouldn't. It shouldn't be formatted to ACX standards, although inadvertently it might still be. I'm going on a tangent already. See, I'm tangenting.
No, I love this. No, no, tangent away. I love this because early on when I started, they were both very separate, meaning like, because ACX standards, which now I mean, because we have Academy Voices, I'm like ACX standards. It's what we say, but honestly, it's the standard of the audiobook industry, basically.
Mm,
No matter where we put, like we use those same standards because those standards are used everywhere. It just was pioneered and put together by ACX, right? Or Audible. So, but early on, I would have a different rack for one, a
I
different
did too.
setup for another. But then
Hmm.
as time went on, and maybe this is where you were getting to, Angela, if I may, is I think that I've realized that honestly, I could use the audiobook standards that I use for other voiceovers and they would be fine because I've gotten to a point where I have really stripped away so much extra non-needed work in my audio,
Mm,
like
hmm.
non-needed extra plugins and all these things to just a core, couple.
Yeah.
And then really the big thing is on ACX or your standards, right? Does it match the right RMS level? And is it, made sure that the peak level is in the correct place,
Yeah.
right? Those are kind of, and we know, I know we're not talking about whether the beginning and end of the file, but is that where you were kind of going with that? Like you could possibly do it both ways almost
They're
sometimes?
very, very similar. I think the big difference between the two is that a voiceover is going to be in wave, Audiobooks are going to be MP3, and I don't check peak. I don't check RMS for voiceover. Noise floor, I mean, that's always a factor. You don't want to have TV in the background or anything that's audible going on in the background, of course, but that's really the major difference between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. And so leading into that, and so from that question, I was just because I saw that question, I thought it was a great
Oh, that's a
question.
great question.
And it can be often confusing, especially when you go onto YouTube and you
Hmm.
watch 50 videos, and all those 50 videos are telling you 50 different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be very challenging. So let's dive into a little bit about ACX standards. And first off, what are ACX standards, right?
Mm.
So yeah, so let's start there.
Okay, ACX standards. There is the peak amplitude, and I think that one is one of the more confusing for people
Well, wait, wait. Let's
because,
first start off with tell us just act if someone there might not be, but let's act if someone doesn't even they're brand new and they don't even know what ACX standards is in general.
okay, copy. Okay,
Right.
so ACX standards are the file formatting standards that are required for each audiobook file.
Right. And we
Um,
require them for Academy Voices as well.
Yes, and that's why it's called a standard. It's pretty much the standard way to do it across distribution platforms. There could be slight variances from platform to platform, but I mean 99% of the time it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Good. Good. Now go into go into what you were saying. So now you're talking about pink amplitude and all that
Peak
stuff. Yeah.
amplitude, I wanted to touch on that one specifically because myself included in the beginning, I thought it was the target number, the peak
Mm,
amplitude, meaning your volume cannot exceed -3 dB, right? That is the peak. I
right.
looked at it as the target. It had to hit -3 dB.
Very,
When it
very smart.
doesn't,
And you know what? I'm so glad you brought that up because
it's
many people actually think that it has to be up to that point. It can't be
right,
4. It can't be
right.
-4. It can't be -5. I mean, typically it won't be that unless you're heavily compressed. But yeah, good point. Good point.
It's a threshold. You cannot
Right.
exceed it. You
Right.
don't have to meet it, right? It's a
Right.
different yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, so that's one of the standards is that threshold, right? As Angela was saying, that we can't go over. And the point is to keep all of it the same for anyone who listens to audiobooks across, right, any platform. So another standard that you have to have, right, is the total volume of the piece itself, right? The file itself. And they're called many names, right? RMS, there's LUFS, right? These are just acronym, they're acronyms or their names. I think like RMS is rate mean square, something like that. And then LUFS is loudness a unit frame per second, something like that. I don't
Where's
even know this.
Caesar? He needs to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
fill us
I
in
don't
on
know
that.
the names of those, but they are very specific about the overall volume of the piece. Like if you were to average it out, right?
Yeah.
So the RMS for ACX standards and audiobook standards, right? We take it from -18 dB up to -23 dB. It has to sit inside of that,
Hmm.
right? And platforms can help you specifically meet this in a different way. So like we use Adobe Audition, and on Adobe Audition, it's very simple. We have a function on there that's called match loudness or whatever, and you can set a certain rate. You can actually set the peak amplitude, and you can set the RMS that you want it to meet, and then you can just run the file through that. You can run hundreds of files through that, and it will do all of that for you. It'll take the file and raise the audio and do everything for you automatically.
Hmm.
And that's very easy. I
Yeah.
like it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely better than using, like, say, I've seen some people, and myself included in the beginning, we used the limiter for peak, especially if peak was an issue. I would just slice them off when really that wasn't the right way to do it. But
Mhm.
match loudness makes it really, really easy. Is there something similar to that in other DAWs, or is it just that?
So like for example, in Audacity, right? What you typically have is there is we have the ACX checker. And what I found what that is I use the limiter. So what I show people is in Audacity, you can use a limiter, right? And a boost, a volume boost or dB boost, right? So you can boost to a certain level and then you can limit, right? You can do a hard limit. They call it a hard limiter, a
Mhm.
hard limit so that it doesn't go over -3 dB. And then you can run it through the checker to make sure that it is correct, but it does not do like we have in Audition. Now in Now, when you go to Studio One and Reaper, I'm not sure. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's something that you could do there, of course, but I don't know about. I'm not that into those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
have never opened Reaper.
yeah.
I don't know.
I always say, like I always joke, right? Reaper can make you a cup of coffee, code you a website, and do your voiceover at the same time. So that's a good one. But it's very it's very, hands-on on that one. But we have a lot of people on all of them in our group. So I mean
Yeah.
they're all whatever one you just like. So what's another one, Angela? So we covered the how loud it can be, the peak. We've covered the how the RMS, how the overall loudness of the piece can be. What else is there?
Another struggle for me and for a lot of people is the noise floor. Is the noise floor factor. I mean, it is for me too. I mean, it still is because I don't know if I'm sure I have told you, but I have an electrical panel inside this room that
Mm.
generates noise. I have a playground 15 feet outside of my studio that, you know, so it's a challenge for sure. And I think one of the best things that I did, what are you laughing at?
Joy was saying
Oh,
going off
going
on
off on
Reaper again,
Reaper.
Anthony. I know. I always have something to say about Reaper because I think it's a cool. I mean, I want it to be, but it's just so like, anyways, it's just so much. I'm just like, why Reaper? Why? Anyways, sorry. So,
What was I saying? Noise floor. Oh, I
noise
think,
floor. Yeah, yeah.
but the biggest problem for me, I think and I had to figure it out the hard way and on my own, was that my computer was making most of the noise. There are ways to reduce your noise floor, but again, as always, there's so many variables from studio to studio, person to person. It could be really anything generating noise, from the lights you have on overhead to the ceiling fan you have on to having the air conditioner on while trying to record. There's a lot of different sources of noise. And there's a lot of noise reducers and a lot of ways within your DAW to reduce that noise too. You just have to understand that delicate balance so you don't remove all of those delicious low tones from your voice as well in the process. So those are things, of course, that we talk about in Launchpad all the time. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now here's a little
yeah,
thing that I did want to talk about noise floor, and I think it's another thing that people get mistaken. In general, of course, we always want the lowest noise floor we can get. However, the ACX checker that a lot of people use gives you a false. It will tell you that you will not pass ACX standards if it's not -60, and that's not true. And this is where again we want to strive for that, we want that, and absolutely we should be doing it. But what I'm saying is we've published so many audiobooks at this point, and I've done so many myself through ACX alone, that I can tell you that if it's at -58, do they kick it back? No, they do not kick it back. But the checker and all the stuff tells you that because it's like a hard recommendation,
yeah,
right? But don't freak out if it's like, I just cannot get it to this super low noise floor without destroying my audio in the process. And that's something that, that I'm glad we're talking about this, because a lot of people again will think, I mean, I'm screwed. I can't get this, blah, blah, blah. But it's real. Now, again, we don't want you. I'm not saying produce loud, like with a
yeah,
loud noise floor, but you know what I mean? But it
yeah,
is a recommendation. It's not, even though it says you don't pass, the ACX checker will literally say you don't pass. and that's not actually true. Anyways, that's
Yeah, and it also the software spot checks for the most part,
right.
or does some sort of an algorithm of magic to figure out what the overall noise floor of your file is. So even if there are a couple of spots where it might get, like Anthony said, -58, -57 in a couple little spots, I mean,
Hmm.
it's not anything to completely destroy your
No,
entire file for.
no, no, absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, and I would say I have the funny, I've told the funny stories about noise floor, right? Of unplugging my refrigerator because my refrigerator would keep running and then forget to plug it in, and my wife would just come after me, and so it's
Rightfully
definitely. I didn't know you
so.
had a panel in your booth, so like it
Yeah.
hums and stuff.
Well, it doesn't, I mean, not to me, but I'm sure it transmits something in this room
Well,
within
heck
the
yeah.
electrical. So I have tons of like power conditioners and things in here.
Right. So
So I've done
you get like ghost noise a lot, really, don't
I've
you?
done
Like
everything that I can
internally.
think of to reduce noise, and it's still an issue. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel you out there. Believe me, I feel you with the noise floor issue.
Tails. I love it. Tails said fridges
Fridges
matter.
matter. They
Yes, they
do.
do. Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do.
Um, that's funny. Okay, so now we've talked about that. What's next? What's another standard that we have to meet?
There's also the file itself in terms of the sample rate and the
Mm,
bit depth.
yes, yes. And this was part of actually that question as well. Because as you know, like we have, I mean, the typical options we have, right, are 16, we have
Hmm.
24, and then we have a 32 float, right? Which means it can float back and forth from 16. So ACX standards say we need to have 16 and we'll accept 32. Okay. Those two are there, but it typically says 16. You can do
Right.
32, but 16 is what it recommends.
I just think a
24.
lot of those platforms haven't been updated to say or 32
Right.
float, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And again, the reason why I know all these little things is because we've done so much that you find out all the little nooks and crannies about what really
You
is and what
learn
not
in
is.
the doing.
Yes, but 16-bit is usually where it's all recommended, right? That it
Right.
be at. And remember 24-bit, I always actually do all my work in 24-bit if it's not to ACX standards.
Yep.
All right. And the bit depth, right, again, is just you're having that's more what it does is it's supposed to give more um I'm trying to what I'm trying to think about how to say that because sometimes I will get them mixed up with your like if it's 44 100, right? When we
Oh,
talk about
the
that,
sample rate.
the sample rate, because the sample, I can tell you the sample rate is really, if you want something really cool, now it does in Adobe Audition. Go into your Adobe Audition, record a file, and then scroll in as far as you can, all right, to the file. And what you'll find is little dots. Okay. And those little dots represent the recordings of the noise at at that sample rate. So the higher sample rate you get, right, then the more of those recordings, and it's supposed to be the more quality of the sound, the more depth of the sound, right? And that's why it's called bit depth as well, right? So that plays a role in it also.
Hmm.
So any Hoosers, um,
And then
16-bit, yeah, 16.
And just to piggyback off of that, we spent almost an entire Launchpad session a week or two ago talking about recording in one particular sample rate and then converting it to another. Can it be done
Mhm.
vice versa? What's the best way to do that? I record everything in 48,000 or more. And if it needs to be at a lower sample rate bit depth, when I'm done with a file, I will then convert it to a lower. I wouldn't go the
You
opposite
said you do
direction
48,000?
or higher
Yeah,
if
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
client is asking for it.
And you know who often clients who often ask for that is video game clients. For me at least, video game clients, people who are doing anime, like heavy audio, like really putting a lot of extra stuff into the audio,
Mm,
right? Because they want a file that's as full as possible because they're going to degrade it,
yeah.
right? They're going to change it, manipulate it, and they want it to come out. It's like think of it this way: it's like taking a picture at a
Yes.
very high resolution rate and then when you go to change it and degrade it, it still looks really good. But if you take a picture at a really low rate and then you go to change it, it looks like crap.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's a good way to describe it.
Mm-hmm. That's a great way to visualize it. There's
Yes.
actually a great question which is in the Mr. Landers had a great question in the chat.
Mr. Landers.
That is also an ACX standard in terms of file length in runtime.
Where is that? Is that?
Oh,
we have Ren also has a question too. Sorry.
The only time I've ever had an issue submitting a chapter file in ACX was when it exceeded 2 hours. It was an excruciating long chapter, and I was unaware there was a time limit. Eventually got in, and I've had to do this a couple of times for a couple of books that we published for Academy Voices, where it was just one singular file, and no fault of the narrator. That's just the way that it was written. But the standard, especially with the platform that we upload to, requires the files to be no longer than an hour and 19 minutes.
Right.
So I had to cut that file in half and then just call it part 1, part 2. And I've had to do that a few times also myself as an audiobook narrator, where that one chapter is like 2 hours long and then the rest of chapters are maybe 10 minutes. Why that one? Who knows? Those are questions for us not to ask.
Right.
But that's essentially all you have to do is chapter 1, part 1, chapter 1, part 2. Just split it in half and make sure that it doesn't exceed the time limit given.
Yeah, no, that's a great, and so that's a great point, because that hour and 19 minutes, and I always just like made it rounded off for people and say do an hour and 15 minutes is love, like, for the file, right?
Why 19?
And then, and now naming those files, right? You don't necessarily need to say part 1 in the beginning of so wait, well, before we get to the naming, because that's a whole thing of the naming files.
Yeah.
The another part is that it is required that in the beginning of the file, right, that your audio starts between 0.5 and 1 seconds. And at the end of the file, there's at least 1 to 5 seconds of blank space, right? Empty space. So that's just another thing that is just hands down. And I find that in Adobe Audition, there's actually a, and I have it bound to my keyboard. It's called Insert Silence. And basically what you do is you can set it, right, to where, it's bound to my keyboard. All you do is highlight the area. I click my key, a little thing pops up, and I tell it how exactly much. I will put 0.7, and it sets it at 0.7. In the back, I'll put like 2, and it sets it at 2. And it makes it very quick for me. Now, is it very hard because you could just add? No, but when I first started out, you'll laugh at this. When I first started out, I was literally copying and pasting. I didn't even think of just record. I would copy and paste.
Let's make sure that we're clear about what you're saying. That doesn't mean to do that throughout the file.
No.
Only the head and the tail.
Although I've seen a lot of people try to do that. They try to put a more of a analytical, or not analytical, but more of like a statistical. I want my pauses to be 1 second. I want them to be 1.5 seconds.
Don't do that.
Please don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Because it'll inadvertently make your pacing sound too much the same, or it'll maybe even make it sound too faster than you intended. Just allow yourself to tell the conversation, or to tell the story in a natural way. Leave most of your pauses in, unless you're taking a drink of water. I mean, reduce that, but just allow it to have that natural human flow.
Absolutely. We got a question from Ren. Is it okay to record and edit in Logic Pro, but export a WAV file to Adobe Audition to use match loudness and export to MP3 from there? Or would it be this would there be some quality loss in the process?
I have a question for Ren. Why not just do all your recording and editing and mastering in an Adobe Audition? Why have the 2 different DAWs? I mean, yes, you could, but why not just keep it all in one place so there isn't any potential loss of quality, and just do it all in Adobe Audition?
Yeah, I was going to ask that question as well. But to answer your question here, can you do that? Yes, of course you can. You can absolutely take a file, because what we do, so think of like what Angela does, is all the files that are uploaded that she takes, that publishes, she's putting them into her DAW, which is Adobe Audition, and she's running this process. So we don't know whether those files came from Audacity, they came from GarageBand, they came from, another, Reaper.
Audacity, yeah.
Right. So yes, you can do that. And will it lose? No, it's not going to lose, because it's just increasing or decreasing the volume, right? We're not manipulating. Now, Angela, has there been times where you have gotten, or you have received some audio and you're like, oh, I need to EQ this a little, I need to
Yes.
compress, I need to do something to it, clean it up some?
Yes. Mainly it's noise floor.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly it's noise floor. I think that is the biggest issue.
Yeah. I agree. I think there'll be sometimes, and also mouth noise. So I've done enough where someone might not have the best plugins yet, or they might not have plugins yet, or they might not be using, they're very mouth clicky. They're using a lot of mouth stuff, in which case I'll just run it through my general process.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have seen that once or twice too.
Yeah.
But not to put that bug in everybody's ear and you guys go, "Oh my God,
Right.
I've got the noisiest mouth." We all do. It's just part of being human.
We all do. Well, once I got, and that's all I'm saying, once I got the plugins, I was like, hey, I can drink coffee.
Right. Yeah, you had to pry this out of my dead cold hands, I'll tell you what.
I know, right? Let's see. We have Professor Trey says, good morning from Rochester, Minnesota. I have had someone tell me there is a standard for the pause between a new sentence. Interesting. Oh, I've heard people say that too. And there is no stand. I've never heard of anyone saying. And if someone, yeah, go ahead.
I've heard people say that leave a little bit more of a pause between maybe chapter sections if there's like subheadings within it, maybe
and that
just
does
to
make a
indicate
little
that it's a
sense.
start of a new section.
Yes.
Or maybe even the start of a new paragraph.
Yes.
I've heard that too, but there isn't like a standard time to do that. It's just whatever feels right.
One of the most interesting things, if you're ever interested, go listen to, well, you can listen to ours as well, especially ours, because it's done by British. Actually, it's done by Eric. Eric does a great job. I was saying Dracula, but there's another, there's another Dracula out there too. That I guess, the OG one that they published, and there's the old British dude. But the reason why I bring it up is because the old British dude. But the reason I bring it up is because if you follow along in the book while they're narrating, by the way, this is a tip for voice actors too. If you want to get better at just understanding pacing, and you listen and you're like, man, these narrators, like you find a narrator, like they're amazing, right? Get the audiobook, get the digital copy, and follow along, like read. And even try it again. We're not trying to impersonate, but remember, acting is imitation. So you can pick up and practice and actually get way better at your pacing by mimicking or imitating and getting better from other voice actors who are doing it very well. And then add your own little nuances in there, right? That's acting. That's acting in general. So, but anyways, the point I'm trying to say is, what you'll find is if you follow along, this dude does not, like, there are moments where there's a period, doesn't stop. There's commas, doesn't stop. But then there's not a period and he stops completely, because the idea, it's always about the idea, right? When does the idea begin and end? When is there a moment that you as a narrator, because remember, most of us are directors.
Yeah.
So we have to, unfortunately, they don't pay for directors really anymore for audiobooks, unless you're doing some massively large project. But we end up being the director. So you have to look at a piece while you're narrating and say, this is where I think, because if there's a continued thought and it's going, don't stop. So that's where I'm saying it can be challenging to say there's a standard.
Yeah.
That was a long response to that. Sorry.
Punctuation is more of a suggestion. Right. If punctuation is a guideline.
Let's see. Tail says, I never once thought about
learn something new every day.
See, there you go. Let's see. I just thought lots of bits is better. Hey, I think that's a great way to look at it, right? That's a great way to look at it. Let's see. TIFF versus PNG. Oh yeah. We were talking about the stuff. Ruben says, hi, lady. It's
Where are the
okay.
donuts?
It is good
Yeah,
to
you got to bring
have
the
you.
donuts.
Yes, sir. Ruben has a fantastic voice,
He
by the
does.
way.
He
Ruben, I
does.
hope I would say, Ruben, you have to call you out on the spot here, but I'm interested. Like we have to talk maybe and see what work is going through your right now. Like what work are you doing? Because I often wonder sometimes about like all of our, we have so many incredible members. I do, and they're so good.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's not our voice acting that holds us back. Would
It's
you agree,
ourselves.
Angela? Right. I mean, I
It's
think so.
ourselves
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I could be wrong, Rube. I was just wondering because because some of you I've not seen you guys narrating, at least on Academy Voices, which is fine because you might be a person who doesn't want to do audiobooks, but it's just I'm just interested. That's all. Good morning, afternoon, all. Hello. Let's see. Joy says you can read that one, Angela. What did Joy say?
So, should commercials, video games, and animated movies should be done in Wave 48K? I think again, use whatever the client tells you. If it's something specific, set it the way that they want it. Ideally, the larger the sample rate, the larger the file, in essence. So I stick with 48K because it's a smaller file for all of the storage for all of the other things that I have stored on my computer. That's just what I choose. But you could choose whatever you wanted to. Just keep in mind that you can't go backwards. So
Right.
once you start at a low sample rate, you can't make it better sounding, more clear sounding, or enhance the sound, right? Just like we were talking about.
But you can save it at that rate and fool them. So trust me, I've done it all. I've done it all. But Angela's right, right? It's like you can't add later. You can't just change it and then it changes what you've recorded.
Because
But
I have
right,
some clients that request me to record at 96,000. I mean, that's just what they want. So, I
right,
mean, you could do whatever you want to. It's just a larger file to
right,
store.
right. Yeah. Do you remember when we used to charge more for WAV files?
Oh,
That
God, I
used to
know.
that used to be a thing because of the time when as time's gone on with technology, of course, space has gotten easier. Like, devices can hold more space and stuff. But early
Yeah,
on, because they're bigger files and you used to charge extra for WAV files. Now it's really a standard that you
it's
offer
a
a WAV
standard.
file.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So Mr. Lander says learning editing shortcuts saves your sanity. I too was cutting and pasting and going crazy. Thank you. Thank you for validating my craziness. Because I literally would cut and paste and cut and
Yep.
paste and cut and
Yep.
paste and cut and
Same.
paste.
Less is
And
more.
yeah, yeah. Here's an interesting thing because it just got me thinking about when we were talking about, not doing that in the middle of your piece.
Mm.
I'm always intrigued about how every individual voice actor takes on dealing with their breaths,
Oh,
and removing them
yeah.
because, early on, I know for me, I'm that kind of person. I don't know, Angela, you probably, but I'm that kind of person who is like, I know no one else has figured it out, but I'm gonna figure it out. How to do it, how to do it just automatically. I'm that kind of guy. I'm like, I'm gonna be the one that figures it out. And then you crash and burn miserably.
Hmm.
But there's always I always meet someone who's the elusive. I figured out how to do it all automatically and it's perfect. I'm like, wow, that's incredible.
Just like the
Um,
guy who created the deep breath plugin that
no,
only works for the one kind of
that's so
frequency and tone of breath that you learned, that you
it
had
only
had
works
it learn.
that one person who's living in the mountains of Tibet. And it's just incredible. Like he meditates on his deep breather. So I yes, so like I go through basically for me, I'm gonna ask you how you do it. Now I do believe that if you have a voice to noise, like there are some plugins that will diminish some of it perfectly fine, right?
So, are you saying that breaths are a bad thing, Anthony?
Ooh,
Let's
good question.
clarify because
Let's
it's
clarify.
sounding like that's what you're saying.
So I'm going to put this out there and say that unfortunately, I think the majority of voice actors, at least newer ones, and that's of course the majority of newer voice actors are don't understand how to use breaths. They're using them every like they talk, they talk, they talk, they talk. Okay, so first we look at a rule to say if anything you do takes away from the suspension of disbelief, you need to get rid of it. All right. Us breathing does not take away from the suspension of disbelief. Best known for his innovative work in figuring out the breath tonight at 8. So, but so like so what I mean by that is that no, breathing is not bad, and there's nothing wrong with having breaths in your audio because that's a natural thing, especially for long form audio.
Mm.
However, what I'm saying is the majority of voice actors that I've worked with, or at least that we've published their work, I've noticed that very few of them I would rather just them not have breaths at all because they're the way they're breathing is not normal, right? They're breathing a very
Is it because their narration is too fast, perhaps?
yes, and it's because they're not comfortable yet narrating. They're not comfortable in their narration style. Like it takes time. I mean, so don't for first off, don't beat yourself up about any of this,
Yeah.
right? Because this takes a long time. It
Hmm.
takes a lot of voiceover work. It takes you being comfortable to say, is that breath at the right place? Do I understand the phrasing of this? And remember, when I say understand the phrasing, when you're talking and you're reading a sentence that was not written for you, right? Was not the person didn't even probably write it to be read out loud,
Yeah.
right? It takes time for you to understand how you can deliver that message in a manner that sounds like they're your words. And then that phraseology that you're using or the idea, it takes some time for you to learn how to do it without reading the whole book first.
Mm.
Like that takes time. Like following along a story that you're reading and you feel what's coming and you're able to change your pacing and your breathing based off of what you hear coming or see coming with your, you reading it. That's not easy. and
Yeah.
that's not easy at all. You're you know what I mean?
Just
Yeah.
takes time and
Yeah.
practice and
Yeah.
figuring it out on your own. Because every book is even going to be worded and phrased and it's going to have a different tone or feel, or every book is a little bit different. So you're going to have to learn to shift that. How do I make this sound like I'm saying it? But yeah, you're
So
right.
so for you, since you were publishing, right? Since you're the so again, if you know, Angela is our a part of the team in Academy Voices that takes the finished audio and then make sure it meets all of the standards, make sure she does the quality control check, and then she puts takes the files, puts them all together, creates the artwork and everything, and then she's the one who publishes them right through our portals. So do you what are you seeing with breaths right now?
Sorry about the landscapers if you can hear them. They're outside my door right now.
No, I can hear.
What do I see with the files?
Well, like breaths, how are you seeing
Oh,
people
breaths.
handle breaths?
I much like my own work. Once I have it in Adobe Audition, I'm looking at it mainly through the spectrogram. Why am I not thinking of the word?
But yeah, no, it's spectrograph.
Is
Yeah,
that right? The spectrogram.
yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I just had a brain fart.
No, it's not.
But with that view, I can see mouth noise, I can see breaths, I can see everything that should or shouldn't be there, and I go through it quickly just to look at it, see if anything stands out. But for the most part, I don't. I do quality control. I make sure that it sounds okay, and then it's not staticky, and it's not too high pitched or clipping or anything
Right.
like that, anything major. But for the most part, I just let the narrators do their thing. But I always say if it's to your point, and you stated it perfectly, if it takes away from the story at all, if it takes away from the suspension of disbelief, I think is what you said.
Yep. Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm having focus
That's
issues,
okay.
but squirrel. If it takes away from what your intention is, then take it out. Or if it's got like a throat gurgle, or if it's got something off-putting in it, take it out. Uh, but learning where to put those breaths, like Anthony said, is the important thing. And I think a lot of times, and I did it myself, slow down. I mean, reading and narrating an audiobook is not like reading one for pleasure. It's going to be much slower and much more intentional. Still conversational, still, telling a story, but you're not reading super fast. So in that, you can learn where to place those breaths. And I did see another question about retaking multiple sentences. I still do it. And sometimes you'll have to find out where to place that breath.
Yes.
Right? Retake something that maybe didn't sound right the first time and, see if it sounds better on the second take.
No, I totally agree. I was hired a ways back to do this series of turn of the 18th or 19th to 20th century, so over like late, during the Industrial Revolution,
Mm.
financial books, financial audiobooks. And I swear these guys must have sat down and thought, how can we write paragraphs without making them more than one sentence?
Uh,
And the crazy thing was too is that the whole 7 to 1 sentence thing I was reading was one idea. And
mhm.
I remember going and to do, I mean, if you guys know, right, we can all like kind of, I guess, understand that, right, when you got to take a breath because there's a long idea and you got to finish it.
Mhm.
That was very hard, and that was actually a good education for me because it really forced me to manipulate the way I used my voice, um almost not like ventriloquy, but to use my voice when I was losing breath or when I
Mhm.
was getting down low, how to continue though to make it sound like that was normal.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, like, gosh, we don't even really talk about that pretty much ever because that's like a more of an advanced thing. But there will come a point where you'll be able to know your brain's telling you you need a breath. But
Mhm.
you're like, well, I don't really, I can go a little bit longer and finish this idea and thought, and that's okay. And then I can come back and take a light breath. But you don't know that until you push yourself and you've done it for a while.
Yeah.
Because your brain's telling you, breathe, breathe, breathe. And that's so that taught me a lot. But man, those were hard. Reading, like, you're like, how can a person talk this long without actually breathing? And
Mhm.
remember, you don't want to in the middle of an idea, a breath can sometimes really crush the idea. It can make the idea not cohesive. So there are moments where you don't, right? But then breaths also serve as a purpose of giving us a moment to relax. That's what a breath does. Okay, so I'm getting the breath thing. Let's see. Emily says you should be able to use it as an external editor. Yes. Yep. We talked about that. Let's see. Ren says only because I'm used to Logic from years of engineering music, old habit. Plus, I know all the shortcut keys. That makes sense.
Mhm.
They took it away, but they used to have one for Isotope. They used to have their editor. Remember that? And they took it away. That was a really good editor, actually,
Mhm.
for standard. For RX standard, they had a nice editor there, and they took it away. I think the old ones still have. You still have it if you have the older ones. Let's see. Stuart says, is anyone else using a Stream Deck to pre-program shortcuts? It's been a lifesaver for other apps, but I can't see much for Audition.
I know some people who use it. I have one on my desk that I can use. I just haven't taken the time to program any buttons, but I know more people use it for Premiere Pro for video shortcuts, but not. Actually, I take that back. I think we had somebody in Launchpad a couple years ago. Was it Eric? That said that he used a Stream Deck for Audition shortcuts too. But long story short, you could program it for whatever the heck you wanted it to do. So, I mean, why not?
Yeah, I mean, and I know it became very popular for live streamers,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a way to pre-program, like super super subscriber or some noises in the
Hmm.
background or all sorts
Yeah.
of things like that. But that is an interesting thing. I have heard of voice actors absolutely using it for that.
Hmm.
Again, I use my keyboard for the program shortcuts,
Yeah.
so it doesn't really, in Adobe Audition we have a thing you can program a shortcut, right? You can record the shortcut and then like program it to a key. So
You could I mean with Steam Deck it does pretty much the same or Stream Deck it does pretty
Stream Deck,
much the same thing where you could program a bunch of
right,
macros into one
right.
or micros into one macro I think
Which
it
would
is.
make a lot of sense too for something like Audacity, or
Mm-hmm.
some other ones too. I think that would make a lot of sense as well. All right, cool. Let's see. Emma
You
says, I
just
don't.
got locked in your room.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I don't think I'll ever switch to audition myself. Emlyn.
Oh yeah. That spot brush in Audition is super handy. But
Re-
don't spend hours trying to brush out every little bit.
I did in the
I did
beginning.
too. It
In
was
the
a waste of
beginning,
time.
it took everyone because I didn't have a plugin. I didn't know about you know voice declick. I didn't know about any of that because there really isn't any other besides the ones that are in the DAWs themselves. But oh my
I mean,
gosh,
for
Angela, we
me,
used
it was that perfection thing. That once I got past that
hours,
mindset
hours.
that it didn't need to be perfect. Just we have clicky mouths, so no one really notices but you. I mean, most of that stuff, no one even notices.
Oh, and you'll go through a phase, everybody listening, that if you depending on how long you're doing this, you'll go to the phase where your ears will start to tune in specifically because you're training them. And then you'll go through this phase where you can't, everything you hear sounds
Yeah.
clicky. I mean, the commercials on the TV, the
Once you
radio,
hear it,
once you
you
hear it, you can't.
cannot unhear it.
That's exactly
Once
right.
once your brain
You can't.
recognizes what it is, you'll hear it everywhere.
No, you can't. You can't. All right, let's see. Here you go. You can read that one.
Oh, that's the question that I touched on earlier about retaking a sentence several times.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine. I still do it to this day.
Hmm. Let's see. Tail says, I've done that where I didn't like how I read a sentence, so I gave a few variations,
Yep,
only
first
to listen
ones.
back later and realize the first one's the best.
First one's usually the best. Unless
Yep.
you mispronounce something or, your
And it's
voice
also,
cracks in the middle of it or something.
well, on an audition or on a shorter piece, if you're doing a shorter voiceover, right? I've sometimes I will take whatever piece. Like a lot of times my last one is the better one because I realized
Mm.
that the last one I do is like, well, I don't care on this one, and sometimes I will copy and paste that one in the front.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, like I'll do,
Yeah, I don't care version.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
Because usually the ones that we're trying so hard on, it comes across like that, right? It comes
Yeah.
across that you're just trying a
Overdoing
little
it.
too hard.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have decades of stage acting experience, but have still found doing character voices in audiobooks is my toughest challenge, and I need to get a lot better at it. Yeah, yeah, that is a big challenge, I think. We were working the other night in Voice Acting 101 using imagery as a method to enhance your characters. And the idea behind that is, if I was to show you, Mr. Landers, a picture of a chicken, and then I said, this chicken, and the chicken is in a pot and it's boiling, right? And there's it, and I told you to voice that chicken for a thing, right? By that visual, right? You would be able, you would create an entire character right off the bat like that, right?
Mhm.
We are beings we're very visual, and I found that imagery can help. And what we did in voice and in the voice acting class is I created an entire a form that you fill out, and then you can use that in something like ChatGPT or something to create you an image that allows you to create a character because visual boards, all right, or what are they called? They're
Like storyboards?
yeah, like storyboards are very powerful. If you've never
Mhm.
done this for an audiobook and you've got a decently long audiobook and their characters, create a storyboard of your characters because they have faces. I mean, like instead of you just trying to come up with it and it shifts your mind. Do you ever like people are like, I've got 30 characters and I'm finding it so hard to remember what voice goes to what? And the old method always was like, record your characters so you remember which one, and you can go back, which is a very powerful tool. But having a visual cue to go to and say, oh,
Mhm.
it's McSteamy. That's this character, right? So that you
McSteamy,
yes,
Anthony?
McSteamy.
Oh
And
god.
McSteamy, yeah. Mr. Chicken Mini is my
And
daughter
you
loves
could do the
Chicken Mini.
same thing, and we talk about this in Launchpad too, where if a character reminds you of somebody like Christopher Walken or somebody,
Mhm.
to have a picture of them attached to their character sheet or your spreadsheet or whatever, however you're taking notes of what the character sounds like and who they are. You could use that too as a visual cue. It's the same
Oh
sort of
yeah,
thing.
absolutely. Let's see. John says, I like to watch TV or movies from an acting or voiceover perspective to get pacing, etc.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. What's
Yep.
interesting is you'll start listening, you'll be like, wait a minute, I can do it better than that.
Or you'll start to hear edits
Oh my gosh.
or
You're like, that
things
was a
like
bad
that.
audio. Have you ever said to
Yes.
your partner or a random being, well, that wasn't actually a good voiceover? I've said that. And my
I
family's like,
have
why do we
too.
care?
Like they didn't even notice. They're like, "Oh
Right.
yeah, that was a good." I mean, did you hear that? That didn't. They're like, "What are you talking about?"
The other night I was laying in bed and we watched TV and you're going to sleep sometimes and I wasn't watching and I'm not kidding you, and my wife was like, that's so random, but I wasn't watching and I heard a scene and I was like, I turned and said, that was a really good acting scene.
I
And
hear
she was like, okay, random. I
I
was like,
hear
yeah.
taking my son to school in the morning, we listen to the radio, and I hear commercials on the radio, and some of those commercials, they're local places. And one of them was like the voice actor was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. They were just kind of like going through their lines. And I'm like, that was horrible. And my son was like, what are you talking about? That voiceover was horrible. That guy was totally disconnected. And he's like, Mom, just drive me to school, Dad. Get over it. Why do you care?
They put up with us.
Yeah,
They put up with us. I keep
They
saying
do.
it. I could listen to Ruben all day. Yes,
Same.
absolutely.
Same.
Yes. Definitely a big fan of listening to audiobooks to learn. It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
helpful.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
here's another little tip too with you guys. If you get and you're in a pinch and you're in a bind, meaning like you got to go, you don't have time to do all the stuff we're talking about. One thing I find very helpful, even with auditions, is go onto Audible and type in or go find the genre. So let's say you're doing something in sci-fi, right? Go to the sci-fi genre and listen to, because you can listen to the first 4 to 5 minutes for free and all these. Listen to them and get an idea of how those narrators, right, are doing those, like how they sound, how their pacing is. And that gives you an idea, especially with auditions, because remember the books, the authors, the indie publishers or whoever, they're expecting you to, yes, have your voice, but also to play within those rules, if you will, right? And that will help you tremendously, I think, and getting more jobs. Isotope RX12, I'm told, for mouth clicks.
There is a mouth declick plugin that you can get in Isotope that is everything. That has cut 80% of my editing time, just that one plugin to remove or reduce the mouth clicks. Because coffee will do that.
And it's standard.
Yeah.
It's not, unfortunately, everyone wants to get Elements because it's like $49 or something, but unfortunately the standard is the one you need, because it does have a declicker, but that declicker is not specifically made for mouth clicks. It's made for other clicks.
It's not the organic click that it's removing. Or I've even heard of some people getting Elements and then upgrade, like when it's on sale for like $20-$30, and then upgrading to standard.
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Leonard says, well, I've seen all kinds of online experts talking about breath noise. Some say you should remove all of them. Others say leave them because people breathe when they're talking and it's natural.
I think there have been some rules of thought for voiceover and audiobooks. They're two completely different things. And I think some of those things that people talk about get convoluted.
Yes.
So if we're talking... I'm sorry. I do really quick.
Go.
But for like e-learning commercial work, like Anthony was saying, everything other than audiobooks, breaths should probably be removed.
Right.
But for audiobooks, leave them in.
Absolutely.
It's the easiest way just to separate the two.
Perfect. That's absolutely right. I totally agree. Let's see. Yes, that's right. We were laughing about that. Figuring out the breath thing. And Reaper. All right. All right, says, just listen to an Emily Henry book, and the narrator was breathing all the time. I was like, wow, look, she's breathing.
How's she breathing? Why am I fuzzy?
She's alive.
There we go. Yes.
I use breathing in pauses to help the story and drama. And that's exactly, yes, that's
Mhm.
exactly what it should be.
Use it.
Right? That's exactly what it should be. And I think as you progress as a voice actor, you'll realize that it's such a powerful tool,
Mhm.
not something to be afraid of.
Yes.
Let's see. I'm definitely still breathy, like working on building lung capacity. Yeah.
Breathy could be really good for some genres.
Yes, it can.
Just saying.
I want to do a song. I want to go like pow, pow, pow. I want to
Brown chicken, brown
Yeah,
cow.
exactly. Let's see. If I could just hold my breath the whole time, I would. Oh my
No.
goodness.
No.
Although I would watch a TikTok video, a live video of you trying to do that, Chris, but I
No,
wouldn't recommend
don't
it.
encourage that, Anthony. Don't. No, Chris,
There's this
don't.
dude on live who hasn't breathed in like
Ugh.
5 minutes.
He's turning
Okay.
blue.
This is so cool.
Send him hearts.
Send him hearts. Jay says, I don't eliminate breaths, but is it okay to maybe shorten long, overly exaggerated breaths after all I do have asthma?
I wouldn't cut a breath because you can hear it. You can hear a cut made mid breath. So if a lot of your breaths are what's the word, off-putting is it comes to mind, or you think
Yeah.
it's exaggerated, or you could probably cut that out and replace it with room tone if you wanted to, but I wouldn't cut all of them out, and I wouldn't cut them in half. Maybe sorry, my allergies are on me today. If possibly you could even reduce the sound. I've heard of some people doing that, but I encourage you that breaths aren't a bad thing. And what you call exaggerated or horrible may not be actually that bad. I would get some feedback on what that actually sounds like, because we are the worst critics when it comes to our voices. So I'd get some peer review on that exaggerated breath before you do anything.
Yeah, just put it in the Discord, put it in the Discord and the chat. You could put it in the review section, you know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, absolutely. Good call
she
on that one.
narrates for us all the time, and I've never heard an exaggerated breath, Joy.
We're our worst critics. I mean,
we're horrible.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Anthony, Angela, and everyone. It has taken me a while to not cringe and want to delete every breath in my autos. Yep, absolutely.
Same.
Absolutely.
Everyone goes through that. You're not alone, Sage.
Oh yeah. I try to hide my breaths in the commas. Yeah.
I do too.
Note to self, reading underwater is bad. I need to stop doing that.
I mean, impressive, but not
That's pretty darn
encouraged.
cool. Yeah. Dickens's sentences end with commas. That's the truth. He wasn't quite sure. He never wanted to stop talking, that guy. Let's see. Run-on sentences are my nemesis, but I just have to decide, okay, I'm going to breathe here, like singing in music. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be part of, and early on, that can be part of you working through your scripts too, right? Like working through your scripts. Ever almost fall asleep while reading a book that was clearly helped by ChatGPT?
Yes.
So, yes, but I've also just fallen asleep in the booth recording.
I remember that. I remember you saying that a couple times. But yes, or stopping lots of times because you're just sitting there in this biggest eye roll going, I can't.
And if you find yourself stopping every other sentence, it might not be that you're having a trouble reading. It could be that you're really fatigued.
Bored.
That was hard. Yes. One thing I did, depending on your space, is I would read a page and then I would stop, take a sip of water, even get up, stand up, and do a quick 2-second walk and then sit back down. I know, but it actually created a pacing too. I actually got that from what's his name? Anyways, famous narrator. My mind goes blank right now. Scott Brick. Thank you, Scott Brick. You could put breath marks on your copy. Yeah.
I mean, you could. You could, but the best way is to actually do it, feel it that way, instead of trying to add more punctuation or guidance, but yeah, I mean, you could.
Let's see. Why doesn't that work? Okay. That would be smart, John. Laugh aloud. I need to do that. I use Stream Deck for Audition, and I love it. Cool.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. I use very smart. Let's see. I use keybinds, but yes. Yeah. Okay. One of my breaths was so far off that it sounded like I was about to cry. Oh.
I mean, it could have been good for the scene if
That's
there
right.
was a sad
That's right.
scene. I mean, use it.
Get into that.
Yep.
Let's see. Voiceover by Lisa says, I have a macro set up in Audacity, but still find myself getting insane over every click. Yeah.
Don't allow yourself to do that.
Yeah.
Less is more.
You know, that's one thing. I know we work with our students, and I work with my one-on-one students. Let them too is letting go.
Yeah, let go.
And you know, letting it go, and to be like, to your mind it might not be perfect, but reality is it sounds great, but you don't think it does because we just don't like how we sound sometimes.
Right. There's no such thing as perfect.
No.
There isn't.
Well, I think we are coming to, we've just hit an hour.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, I mean, and we have so many more comments and stuff, and I like try to get to them all.
We'll focus on just the questions.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's any questions.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Question. I do wonder about some professional voice actors. Their character is clearly capable of good delivery. Was that a question? Let's see. There's a character who is clearly capable of doing delivery, but the lines are so awkward and weirdly. Okay. Oh, wait, here we go. All the time, mic changes mid-scene, ADR pickups that might fit differently, always question. Oh. Yes, good use of the rhetorical questions. I love it. I saw the question mark. Oh, wait, here we go. Is now a time I should get iZotope RX 11, seeing as how 12 is out? I personally love, it doesn't matter. I think I'm using 10 at the moment, and
has anything changed from 11 to 12? I mean,
maybe little tweaks here or there, but no, you could still, I know some people who are still having like one or two, like they have the original ones, and because they don't really change. What changes maybe, like, again, the platform might change a little bit. They might upgrade something or add a little extra here or there, but
the
no, I wouldn't worry
change to this software from one iteration to the very next is probably so minimal. I mean, there was a time where I had RX 7 and Tim Tippett was like, don't even bother upgrading until they get to like 11. So, I mean, does there make much of a difference? Maybe not, but just get iZotope, period.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I think that's it. I think not any more questions. Well, listen, Sage, I did want to I appreciate that, Sage. She started watching. Yes, the denoise and mouthy click is by far my go-to, stuff now, because I have MySpace dialed into where that takes care. I don't have to do anything else. But you might not have a space that's that quiet too, so you might have to add a little bit something else in there to take away that noise floor. Because the voice to noise really tackles what's inside your voiceover, which is fantastic, because your other stuff doesn't do that, and that's a very unique thing to voice to noise.
Can I answer one question in the chat just really quick?
Oh, did I miss it?
Because no. It was I've noticed a huge decline in the number of books available to audition on ACX. I used to put in all my filters and come up with 150 possible books. Now I'm lucky stop using filters. You should only be using 1 or 2 filters if you're looking for books on ACX. Your language is, if you have multiple, and maybe like the gender. I mean, and that is even questionable. I would just do language and see what comes up, because there's a lot of authors who don't select filters or leave it open-ended. If you're looking for something specific,
take them all off.
Taking yourself out of the pool of all the other possibilities. Minimal filters.
Yes. Thank you so much for saying for that, Mr. Landers. I recommend take them all off.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you don't want to do spicy, and you want to like click that off, but leave, because and then also the accents, all that stuff, what age, just don't put the filters on.
Yep.
And
language, I think, would be the only one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good one. Here was a question. Hello, I'm just starting my VO journey. I've listened to VO Angela for a couple years, finally getting started. Nice. Thanks for all. Question: how do we join the Discord?
Join the Academy.
That's right. So, Rich, you
join our Academy.
Both Angela and I, we teach at VO Journey Academy, along with some other amazing coaches, and the community there is amazing and super helpful. So yeah, all you gotta do is go to vosjourney.com. I guess we post that in the here, vosjourney.com, and you can sign up for VO's Journey, and then yeah, you part of that is joining our community that you get with that Discord. And I'm gonna say, because I'm super proud of it, but I think it's the best community out there.
It
I
is.
really do. Well,
It is.
our community is amazing. They're so helpful, and like it's 24/7 help, which is what I love about our community. Right, someone is always up.
By the way, other platforms, which will, I'm not going to say whom or where or what, but there's a lot of other platforms who envy what we have.
Yes, there is.
So you're
Yes, there
missing out
is.
if you're not in the groove with VO's Journey
Yes,
Academy.
yes. Well, you guys, we had a we had the let's see. So we had okay, if there was a poll, I don't know if everybody can see it. It was have you narrated an audiobook? We only had 5 people who voted. So so we had 3 people said yes, and then 2 people said just starting out.
Okay, so
So
hopefully this was helpful.
there you go. That's right. Exactly. And I do think in the end, if you're not narrating audiobooks, just know that there is such an opportunity with audiobooks right now, and it will continue to be a great opportunity. And with Academy Voices that both Angela and I run with Gabby, it is we just hit over 600 audiobooks published.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we're on our way to 1,000. We're gonna push that envelope this year, and we are really it's fantastic. It's really growing well over there. Voice actors are making money, so it's a safe place. I think what I loved about what Angela always said about Academy Voices is like, it's a safe place because there's
No
there's no
scams.
scams. That's
No
a big thing
scams.
because
It's
we run it.
huge. It's
No one else. There is
everything.
no one else. We run it, and everything that goes is us, and it's all it goes through manually from us. So
Mm-hmm.
there is no scams or anything like that. So
By people who run by voice actors who understand the struggle, understand the industry, who understand how everything works. There's no just like no name big investor behind us that just says do this or that. We do everything and we know how to do it, and there's no scams. So
no.
that's huge.
Well, you guys think, we did have a bunch more votes. Thank you for the poll.
Yeah,
I should have
I
just
don't think
mentioned
anybody
it.
saw it.
I know, that was my bad. But yeah, so we had about 78% now to have narrated an audiobook, and a couple of people are just starting out. So listen, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. What a wonderful session. And thank you, Angela, as always, being here. So remember, every Thursday we get together, Angela, Gabby, and myself. Again, Gabby just couldn't be here today because her internet wasn't working. And but we'll be here every Thursday at noon to talk about Academy Voices and audiobooks and all that jazz. So thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
We'll see you later. Goodbye.